Welcome into a very special edition of The Truth, College Coaches Talk Recruiting. Today we're doing an extended version of The Truth, and we are talking very broadly on the entire recruiting process. And we're going to be hearing from some college coaches, but as a reminder, if you are not already subscribed, go to our YouTube channel and subscribe for updated specific truth videos that are talking about specific questions that you may have on the recruiting process. So if you are watching this, you're more than likely interested in knowing the basics about the recruiting process for helping yourself or helping your athlete get to college and get a scholarship. That is the goal in this entire process, is to get not only a spot on a team, but also help pay for college. So let's first of all talk about the crazy and kind of scary increasing costs of college. We're making this video right now here in 2017. You can see from 2015 all the way to the estimated increases. Assumed annual rate cost increase 6.5% in public, 4.5% in private. What this means is college is just going up every single year. College is not going to go down. I know there's been a lot of talks of getting free college, but just assuming that does not ever happen, here's the trend that we're seeing from colleges. And so being an athlete, you're in a very opportune position to be able to help pay for college. And that comes with the talent of your sport, but it also comes with understanding how much scholarship does your particular sport have. It's important to realize just how quickly you should be starting this recruiting process. Let's hear from Coach Scott Laverty, a baseball coach at Chapman University.
Some of these Division Ones are way ahead of the game, with sophomores, and if you're good enough to be in that category, you're going to be starting as a freshman and a sophomore, getting interest from different people. But I think for the majority of players that aren't signing that Division One early contact, summer before your junior year, going into your junior year, you need to start picking a few things, seeing what you're interested in. Start planning some trips with your parents to go out and see places, so that you can catch up and start to get a jump start. Because most of the time, you're going to need to be starting to fill out applications. Come the fall of your senior year, and get them done. And especially with early actions and different things like that, you're going to want to know what your top 3 or 4 schools are, so that you can get those applications in. So I think the summer going into your junior year, you need to start investigating. You might not go on trips yet. You might go on those trips, after the summer after your junior year. You've got 4 or 5 or 6 different places that you want to go. But I think that's kind of when you need to start on average, so that you can just keep yourself on a nice, easy timeline and keep options open.
So let's first talk about the difference between scholarships at the collegiate level. Number one is a head count sport. Head count sports include Division I football, that's FBS only, men's and women's basketball, women's tennis, women's gymnastics, and women's volleyball. What a head count sport means is that if you are on that team and you are a scholarship athlete, you are a 100% athletic scholarship athlete. You're not paying a single dollar for school. But if you're a walk-on or a red shirt, that means that you're getting $0. Now, if you don't know what a walk-on or a red shirt is, let's talk about that really quick. A walk-on is someone that has been told by a college coach, you have a spot on our team. Or maybe you went to, let's just for example, say Oregon, you go and try out for the football team. You don't have a position going in to that school, but when you try out and then the coach says, yes, you're on the team, that would be considered a walk-on, no scholarship. You do have the opportunity for academic scholarship, no athletic scholarship. A red shirt is an athlete that is either because of injury or because they would like another year of being able to qualify for athletic participation. They take a year off from suiting up during the games. So you can practice, you can be with the team, you can participate in every practice, but once the games start, you do not suit up. You're on the sidelines, and basically using that as an opportunity to gain experience, but not to play in the game. So that's what a red shirt is. So that's what head count sports are all about. Equivalency sports are going to be the following: all Division I sports that are not listed in head count sports, all Division IIs, all NAI schools, all junior colleges, and big note here, Division III schools do not offer athletic scholarship. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second here, but what I want to talk about for equivalency sports is that coaches are given a specific number of scholarships, athletic scholarships, that they can give out to their entire team, and that is the equivalency of what they can give out. So we'll move into another slide here in a second that will show those numbers. But just for example, right off the top of our heads, we know that baseball gives out 11.7 full ride scholarships for Division One. That means that the coach has 11.7 full ride scholarships to give out equally, or if they choose to give them out, 90% to one athlete, 10% to another, they can choose to do that however they want. So that's where the grades become so important. So, for example, if I'm a baseball player and I get a 50% athletic scholarship, where do you think that other 50% is going to come from? Most of the time, it's going to be academics. Maybe it's grants. Maybe it's in-state tuition. Whatever that ends up looking like, you're not usually, if you're a baseball player or any of these non-headcount sports, most of the time you're not getting a full ride 100% athletic scholarship. It's usually a combined scholarship with both athletics and academics. So in talking about grades, let's hear straight from a college coach's mouth, Courtney Calderon over at Chapman University, discussing what she initially looks at for a college-bound athlete.
Number one, I'm looking at, obviously, their grades. That's the first thing I honestly look at. You have to get it done in the classroom. It doesn't matter what level you're going to. If you get it done in the classroom, the money will be there in different avenues, not just always athletically.
Now, when we talk about NCAA Division II, NAIA, junior college, just about every single sport, the pattern is that it goes down in scholarships. Some NAIA schools have more to offer than some Division II schools or even Division I schools in the NCAA. You'll see that in a second. But the big thing that I want to talk about here is Division III schools do not offer any athletic scholarship. Now, what that does not mean is that you should eliminate Division III schools. We don't want to eliminate any schools from our opportunity, because here's the deal. When you look at getting recruited to play in college, you should not be focused on the division. That's the last thing you should worry about. Really the top 3 to 4 things that you want to worry about are, is your major offered? What's the location? And am I going to be able to play right away? Or am I going to have to sit on the bench for 3 years and have to wait to play until my senior year? What's going to make you the most happy is really what it is. If your dream is to play in front of thousands of fans and you're okay with riding the bench for 3 to 4 years to do that, that's your dream. For most, at least I know, I was a baseball player growing up in high school. My dream was to just be there out on the field and have the opportunity to play, and ideally play for a winning team. So those are the things that you want to keep in consideration with going to college, including academics and location. So when we talk about Division III schools, academic money is big time. You can get a lot of academic money to go to a Division III school. I've got a great example. There's a football player that we know of that had a 25 on his ACT and had a 3.8 GPA. Pretty decent student, nothing spectacular, but what I do know is that he had an opportunity to stay in state and pay about $21,000 to $22,000 a year to walk on and hopefully get a spot, crossing his fingers, on a Division I team. Or he was also given an opportunity to play at a Division III school in California. The school cost $55,000 a year, but they liked him so much that they said, we're going to give you, it was about 87, 88% full ride scholarship, academic money only, to go to that school. He was only paying about $7,000 to $8,000 out of pocket to go to that school. So what's a better situation? Is it hopefully playing for a Division I, walking on and maybe not getting any scholarship? Or is it opening up your mind, looking at those Division III schools and saying, you know what, I know they don't offer athletic money, but I'm going to take a look at what my grades can get me, because here's the deal. If I'm a Division III coach, I'm going to find money for a kid that I really want playing for me. So let's take a look at some of the opportunities at the next level. I'll let you browse over this and take a look at your men's sports first. Again, when you see head count, that means that every single participating player in the games is a full ride scholarship athlete. And women's sports, Now that you see what the opportunity is for you to get either an athletic or an academic scholarship to play at that next level, let's talk about some of the things that a lot of parents in the stands, coaches, maybe even just friends and family members might tell you about the recruiting process. But guess what? We're in the 21st century now with technology. All these myths that you're seeing, they're not true. So number one, my high school or club coach has a bunch of connections. They're going to get me recruited. Let me break it down for you. Your high school coach especially is usually a teacher, usually has a family, or maybe even is a walk-on coach and has another full-time job. How much time do they have to use their connections to get you recruited? On the flip side, a club coach usually is a club coach because they have connections and they have the opportunity to help you get recruited. But again, a club coach is usually going to be working with anywhere between 15 to as many as 150 players when it comes to their entire club. You can't expect them to take your recruiting process into their hands. So you've got to be the one making communication. Number two, my grades won't matter. 3.2 versus a 3.8 GPA. We already heard from a couple coaches that grades are really the determining factor. What I always like to point out here is, let's just say I'm a football player. If I can catch just as well, hit just as hard, dodge a tackle just as well, run just as fast as a guy who's got a 3.8 GPA and I've got a 3.2 GPA, and there's only one spot left on that team, who do you think that scholarship or that opportunity is going to? If you answered the 3.8, you're definitely right. I play for a strong high school team or club team that has a long list of alumni going on to play in college. Now, what that kind of looks like is, if you've ever heard of De La Salle in Northern California, one of the best and well-known programs in sports, really in the entire nation. Yeah, there's a lot of college coaches that are going to check out players for De La Salle, no matter what sport that is, basketball, football, women's soccer, whatever that is. There's a lot of college coaches going to look at those players. But if I'm playing at De La Salle and I'm a talented player, but because my team is so good, I might be getting overlooked. I might have college coaches coming and watching my games, but are they looking at me? So I need to make sure that I'm not just relying on the reputation of my school or my program to get me recruited. I might not have the best game when a college coach comes to watch me play, so I need to make sure that I'm starting to build a relationship with a college coach and try to get on their lists, get into their email box, get onto the list that they're looking at for their top players, or maybe even at a tournament. And that leads me to my next one, which is I'm an amazing player, so coaches will find me. Oh gosh, we talk about a really old school way of thought. That's what this is. If you're an amazing player, that's great for you, but guess what? Maybe 1 out of every 200 players is getting recruited because they're an amazing player, so coaches will find them and coaches are talking about them. If you can hit the ball a country mile and you can play defense like no one's business, you're probably one of these players. But even then, do I know that all 1,500 plus colleges out there in the United States know about me? Probably not. So I need to make sure that I'm being proactive. I need to make sure that I'm sending out my profile, sending out my videos, sending out updates all the time to college coaches. Those are key things that I need to make sure that I'm doing in order to know that colleges know about me. Now, especially one of the reasons we talk about being good enough to get recruited being a myth is because the recruiting budgets have changed a lot over the years. Small schools, which make up about 90% of colleges out there, have small recruiting budgets. So here's a women's Division II volleyball coach talking about their recruiting budget. She says, I have about $1,000 for a recruiting budget every year. I have to be really creative with how I spend that money. For that reason, video becomes so much more important. If I can't get to your tournament, then I need to see a video. We already talked about the importance of video. There's just more proof right there. So if you can be proactive, even if you are that amazing player, I bet you that if you aren't proactive, you'll get about 5 to 6 offers if you're that amazing player. If you are proactive, that 5 to 6 could turn into 15 to 16. Next, my team is playing in big showcases this year. Here is the idea behind this. If you're a club player or if your team is going to play in a showcase, or maybe you've even signed up for an individual showcase at a specific tournament camp or elite camp that a coach might have going on for his team in college, that's great. but don't expect to be noticed at that camp. The idea there is that you want to get noticed before that camp starts. So what you do is you send your video, you send an email, you tell that coach, I'm going to show up at your camp, or I'm going to be at this tournament. I know that you're going to be at that tournament. That gets you on their list. If you get on their list and they see you play in person, a couple things could happen. Number one, you're on their list, so that means that they want to give you a serious look. Let's say you don't play your best, but they loved your video, they really had a great conversation with you either over email or over the phone, and now you've got the opportunity to maybe make a second impression because they like that video, but you didn't necessarily play as great in person, but they want to stay in contact with you and maybe they want to see you play again. So you almost get this kind of grace period if you can do that. Number two, maybe first thing right away, you prove to them you're just as good as you are in your video, and now they are ready to start the recruiting process with you. Not only are they going to watch you play again, but they're going to invite you to camp. They're going to invite you to their campus. Maybe they're even going to give you an offer if it's coming to that time where you're junior or senior. Those are the reasons why you want to make sure you get noticed before you go to a camp or a tournament. And then lastly, I'm only a junior, freshman, sophomore. I have plenty of time. Let me expand on this. The time is now. We already heard that from Coach Scott Laverty in the very beginning. A lot of Division I coaches are looking at players as early as freshman or sophomore year. If you're a volleyball player or a softball player, sometimes even 8th grade. It's crazy. So are you allowed to contact coaches before your sophomore, junior season? Yes, absolutely. Here's the key thing. They are not allowed to send you anything else except for a camp invite until you're going into your junior season. Okay, and that's a little bit different for every sport. In between about June to September, you can look it up on your own. Just Google contact periods, and you can take a look at that. But let's just assume for a second I'm a freshman baseball player, and I'm in the mindset right now of, is it too early to start? Well, there could be two different answers to that. Am I a baseball player who as a freshman is already throwing 80-plus miles an hour, left-handed pitcher, and I'm 6'1", but my parents are 6'3" and 5'10", and I've got another 2 to 3 inches to grow? I think I ought to start the recruiting process right now because that's what coaches are looking for. They're looking for projectability. So if I'm already performing at a higher level than what I should be at as a freshman, then I need to get my name out there right away. However, if I'm a freshman and I'm 5'2", 115 pounds and barely making my freshman baseball team or freshman football team, maybe not. Maybe you got to get those strides going to prove that you are a college eligible player. And that might come with growing another 6 inches or putting on another 20 to 30 pounds of muscle or developing your skills. So there's a two-sided coin to that answer. However, what I do know is that even if you are not at that level of playing in college yet, let's say you're that 5'2", 115-pound player as a freshman, coaches will watch your updated video if you send it to them. So as a freshman, if I'm sending a video and a coach says, there's no way this kid can even play in college right now, but a year later I send them an updated video and they say, wait, isn't that the kid that I said a year ago wasn't even really college eligible, but now he's 5'8", or she's 5'8", and hitting the ball harder or running faster or just looks a lot more athletic on film. Now I'm thinking, okay, 365 days have gone by and I've seen that kind of projectability and that kind of improvement from this player. I wonder what's going to happen in the next 365 days. And now you've got their attention and you've got their curiosity piqued. So even though they can't respond to you if you're a freshman or sophomore, they can send you a camp invite. And here's what I love to do with those camp invites. If you get a camp invite and a coach is not allowed to pick up the phone and call you or respond to an email by saying, I like what I see on video, because they can't, because you're not a junior yet, what you can do is you can say to them and respond to their email, Coach, I'm going to take a look at this camp information with my parents, and I'll get back to you. Can you do me a favor? Can you send me more information on your school? Or can you send me another camp invite if you're interested in me giving you a call? There's code right there. You can, again, coaches can send you all the information they want about their school and camp information. before you're a junior. So if you give them that little, I guess you could say, nudge to send you more information, but tell them, if you send me more information, I'm going to take that as code that I need to give you a call. Then they send it to you. Get on the phone right away, pick up that phone, call their office until they answer the phone. If they answer the phone, you can talk to them all you want. They can invite you out to campus. They can even offer you a scholarship right there over the phone because you initiated the phone call. But if you make a phone call and they don't respond and you leave a voicemail, coaches are not allowed to pick up the phone and call you back. Now, let me preface, this is for NCAA Division I and Division II. Division III and NAI schools and junior colleges have different sets of rules. Usually they can start anytime they want. So this is why you want to start this recruiting process now. Let me also say, for seniors, it's not too late. There's no way that this process can end too late either. There's been players that go on, graduate from high school, and don't even get recruited as a high school senior, but then take a year off, get bigger, faster, stronger, improve their athleticism, and then get recruited after that 1 year off. It's still possible. Now let's talk about the communication timeline here. First of all, you want to send an email to a college coach. It has to start with email. Now, when you talk about starting with email, there's some specific strategy here. And first of all, let's hear from a Division I baseball coach. Start with email. It's easier. I'm not always by the phone. When I have a long day, sometimes the only time I can give to recruits is when I'm winding down at home in front of my computer. So email is definitely the best place to start. What do you say? Well, include a video. This is another Division I baseball coach. He says, I get over 400 emails a month from athletes with no videos. I've never responded to one. Don't have a video, you don't have a conversation starter. And then once you do have that video and you've sent that to that coach and you're following up maybe later, they'll look at this. As you can see, a Division II football coach talking about this. We will start watching film of our kids from their junior season, but we won't offer kids then. Most kids that we are recruiting are still hoping for that Division I scholarship, so we don't start doing their recruiting until later. Then we will want to see their senior film to make sure they have progressed. If they haven't gotten any better, that's not usually a good sign. Once you've sent that email with a video and a specific reason of why you want to play for that coach, you're going to then ideally receive email responses from interested college coaches. Now, don't get too anxious here because I'm going to tell you right now, a good response rate is about 10%. For every 10 emails you send out, if you get one response, that's awesome. So as soon as you get a response from a coach, obviously, if you had sent them an email, you're probably pretty interested. So I'd say they're probably one of your top schools, right? If they're one of your top schools, then you want to schedule a phone call with that interested coach. Get them on the phone as quickly as possible. That's how you develop relationships. You don't develop relationships through email. You develop relationships through old-fashioned talking face-to-face or over the phone. What's likely going to happen, as long as you are prepared for that call, and we're going to talk about what preparation looks like here in a minute, but as long as you were prepared for that call and you impress that coach over the phone, then they're more than likely going to ask you if you want to visit. You ideally want to have about 5 to 10 visits scheduled by your junior year or end of junior year. If you can do that, then you're going to even further that relationship with that coach. And maybe you started out as being one of their top, 50 players to when they saw you in person, you impress them in person, whether that's with personality or with your talent on the field or on the court. They're more than likely going to improve. You're going to improve that relationship and maybe even jump into their top 10, top 5. And then as that process continues, you leave that school, you stay in contact with that coach via text, email, or phone calls. Ideally, you end up receiving some offers from those schools that you visited. Let's say you visited 10, you get offers from 8, and now you can accept whichever offer that you want. So the last thing I want you to do, last thing that you should be doing is just sending emails to coaches. This is where people get stuck in this recruiting process is they think, well, I was emailing this coach and then I lost communication. I've sent them so many emails, but they just aren't even responding anymore. Did you ever get on the phone with that coach? Did you ever give them the opportunity to get to know who you really are? Probably not. So make sure it goes from email to phone calls to visits, getting an offer, and then accepting the best offer that you have. So let's talk about the 4 Ps of the recruiting process. This is really, this is a must for the entire process. Proactive, number one, you got to stay aggressive and take initiative. What does proactive look like? Let's look at what proactive doesn't look like. I sent one email to a coach. They didn't respond to me. They must not be interested. That's not proactive. A coach is always, almost always, going to wait for you to send a couple emails until they really start getting aggressive with you. They want to see you're aggressive before they get aggressive with you. So proactiveness looks like making a list. 50 colleges ideally at the least. Then sending emails to all 50 of those colleges. And then every 30 days, sending an update to all 50 of those colleges. That's what proactive looks like. And then eventually, if you want it bad enough, if they're not responding to email, you get on the phone with them. Persistent, we just talked about it. Follow up with coaches until they say no. So you're not stopping this process until you hear the word no. If I want to go to UCLA and I'm not hearing back from UCLA, I'm calling that coach, I'm emailing that coach. I might even show, if it's convenient for my family and I'm going to show up to their camps. I'm going to show up to their campus. I'm going to show up to do anything I can to at least hear the word no. Once I hear the word no, I can move on. Preparation. We were just talking about phone calls with college coaches. You've got to be prepared to get on the phone with that coach and know not only what you're talking about and what you want, but know a lot about that school. So when I'm getting on the phone with a college coach for the very first time and I've told them I want to play for them, do I know what division they play in? Do I know what conference they play in? Do I know what their record was the last 3 years? Have they won any championships? How long is the coach that I'm talking to on the phone, how long's he been or she been with that program? What's the mascot? If a coach says, what's our mascot? And you're sitting there, with your jaw dropped wondering, I don't know, that's probably not going to look very good. How badly do you really want to play for me if you don't even know what our mascot is? You've got to do your preparation, and that goes on both the academic and athletic side. We once heard an athlete get off a phone call with a coach that was literally like a quiz. The very first conversation they ever had with that coach, one of the questions the coach asked was, what year was our school founded? Wow. It's a good thing this kid did his research. He actually answered that question correctly, ended up getting an offer from that school too. So make sure you've done your research. And then last one, exposure. Coaches must see you play in person. The only way to expose yourself is with video and to continue to try to get that coach to see you play in person, whether it's at a tournament or at their camp. They are not going to send you any offers until they've seen you in person. And if they do, probably not the best program. Just saying that because that's the truth. The kids that get offers from schools that haven't seen them play in person are usually the ones that are really desperate to fill some spots. You don't want to be one of those kids. You want to be one of the ones that has gone through the trials and tests to make it to that offer. And then we've got the 4 legs of a recruitable athlete. These are legs with branches. And the way that I can really explain this is you're probably sitting in a chair listening to this right now, and you're really on that chair with 4 legs that if any of them are wobbly, you're probably going to fall off that chair is going to break. Same thing with you as a recruitable athlete. If one of these legs is weak, you need to work on making it stronger. So what does talent mean? Talent, yeah, definitely means raw talent, but what about work ethic? What about being the first player on the field and the last one to leave the field? What about your attitude with the coach? One of the big things that college coaches are going to do is they're going to pick up the phone and they're going to ask your high school coach, hey, tell me about this player. What do you think of him? If you've got a cruddy attitude or a cruddy work ethic, that coach will probably say, well, he's got all the talent in the world, but he doesn't apply it, and he could be a lot better. And honestly, I don't really see him making it in college because his bad attitude is going to get in the way. You got to worry about all those things that go into your talent and into your work ethic. Number 2, grades and test scores. At the minimum, this goes for all colleges, 3.0 GPA. You want to score about a 20 to 21 on the ACT. Those are minimums. And I say ACT because that's becoming known as the more well-known test. Now, if you've got a list of colleges, you want to probably get with that admissions, to email the admissions, head of admissions, or the admissions office and ask them, what are you looking at, SAT or ACT? If that's a top school for you, you want to definitely take the test that they want for their scores, for their athletes and their students. Now, If you really want to make sure that you're good enough for the majority of colleges out there, 3.5 GPA and a 24 ACT. But if you want to make sure that you can be scholarship eligible and even get into those Ivy League schools or the top academic schools out there, 3.8 to 4.0 GPA or higher, lots of AP classes, those test scores, a 26, 27, 28 or higher on the ACT. That's going to open up so many more doors. Number 3, nutrition and fitness. 2 things here. Are you working out? Are you in the gym? And are you feeding your body right? If you're eating like McDonald's, you're playing like McDonald's. If you're not going to the gym, don't ask yourself, why am I not getting recruited? Because even pitchers, even female athletes, even swimmers, the ones that you may not think about maybe going to the gym all the time, you got to be staying ahead of the competition. For example, golf. 10 years ago, golf was not a sport that people were going to the gym for, and now everyone's going to the gym for golf. It's just the world that we live in. We've got to always be trying to get bigger, faster, stronger. And then number 4 is the recruiting plan, which is why you're watching this video. If you don't have a plan, you could be the best player out there, but if you don't have the plan to put in place, then you can't reach the goal. Now, we'll talk about the recruiting funnel briefly here. It's not the way of getting recruited, but it's a great mindset to take into the recruiting process. A couple things here. Let's look at it from a coach's perspective. If I'm a college coach, I might be sending out, for example, if I am, the Syracuse head coach for, let's just say, men's basketball. I might be sending out anywhere between 5,000 and 15,000 initial interest letters to the entire nation. What does an initial interest letter look like? It could be something to the effect of a promotional email about Syracuse and followed with a player questionnaire that they're asking you to fill out. It might be very general by saying, "Dear prospective athlete." It might even say your actual name. All I know is that you need to make sure that you're taking any initial interest letters seriously, and if they give you a next action step that's as simple as filling out a recruiting questionnaire, do it, even if you don't want to go to that school. The more databases that you're in, the more college coaches are looking at you, and the more college coaches are talking about you, which means it'll lead to more offers. I hope that makes sense. Next, if you fill out that initial interest letter, it becomes like a funnel. You get into maybe 1 out of 3,000 or 1 out of 1,000 of those initial 15,000 letters are filled out by athletes. Maybe 500 will qualify academically and have a video. Maybe 50 to 100 qualify athletically and look good on that video. And then it turns into getting in contact and staying in contact with those coaches. Those coaches will send out maybe, if you're a golf team, as low as 5 offers, to a football team, maybe as many as 50 offers, and 5 to 30 might accept it by the end. So it's a funnel. It starts out with, thousands and thousands, and then it gets funneled down to about 5 to 30 will accept offers. Now, if you look at it on the flip side from an athlete's perspective, we're talking about an athlete making a list of 50 to 100 top schools, and when they email those top schools, they're ideally going to get, anywhere between 10 to 20 responses, and then they're going to get on the phone with about 10 of those coaches. Then maybe they're going to visit 5 to 8 schools and maybe get about 5, 6, 7 offers and accept the one best offer. So that's the way that we're looking at this recruiting funnels from both ends. You've got to start out with a broad list of schools, and the schools have to start out with a broad list of athletes. It just funnels down from there. So take that mindset into this recruiting process, and you'll see that especially if you've got 10 or 15 schools that are recruiting you, then when those schools start recruiting you and giving you offers, your value is going to go up. If you've got one offer, you've probably got 2 or 3 more offers. If you don't have any offers, it's going to be tough to get that first offer. The first offer is always the toughest one to get. You get one, you're going to get a few. So in summary, here's what you need to do now. Keep your grades and skills sharp. Keep working in the classroom. Keep working hard in the weight room, on the field, on the court. Number 2, make a video and a profile. If you've not made that video or profile, you probably are not going to have the best foot forward in this recruiting process. The only ones I say maybe don't need video are your track and field athletes, your swimmers, cross country, the things that are more based off of times and measurements rather than video, athleticism, and mechanics. Make a top list of schools. It says here 25 to 50. I'm going to really suggest 50 plus. In each division, make it balanced. if I'm a junior or senior, I definitely want to do this. Division I all the way down through junior college. Get yourself about 10 to 15 per division here. If you're a freshman or a sophomore, maybe you want to shoot for the stars a little bit more. Go D1 heavy, go D2 heavy, and a few D3 and NAIs. The key thing there is that you're eventually going to have to readjust your list. So the list is ever evolving. Fill out questionnaires for all top schools. We just talked about this. If a coach is sending you a questionnaire, you want to fill it out. But at the same time, if you have a top school that you're interested in, Google that. San Diego State Baseball Recruiting Questionnaire. Syracuse Basketball Recruiting Questionnaire. Look those up. Get those filled out. Get in their recruiting databases. I would suggest doing that after you made a video. Send introduction emails to top schools. That is a key. And the thing about sending an introduction email to a top school, especially, is the personal touch. So with that personal touch, we're hearing from a Division II women's basketball coach. The personal touch is really nice. I want to know why a player wants to play for me. Show me that you know who I am as a coach and what our program is about. Think about this just as an employee trying to get a job with an employer. If I just send them my resume and say, take a look and let me know if I'm good enough for your job, what about sending them instead your resume and saying, take a look at my resume, but here's all the reasons why I want to work for you and what I believe in your company and what I believe about your service. Same thing with a college coach. I want to play for you because I've been, a Sun Devil fan for my entire life. Or I want to play for you because all of my family is right there in that town. It'd be so great for them to be able to come see all my games and support me while I'm there. Those are great reasons of why you'd want to play for that school and that program. Aside from that personal touch, you definitely want to send those introduction emails with your video, with your profile, and of course, having the measurements or the awards or the things that make you the best candidate for that school. Put those in the introduction email. Look at that almost like your cover letter and your profile and video as your resume. Follow up and update all top schools, whether they respond to your first email or not. Here's the key thing. A lot of athletes will think, oh, I didn't, get a response from a college coach. They must not be interested. That's not the case. Coaches are intentionally not responding a lot of times, and sometimes they have every intention of responding, and they forget because an emergency happens or they get distracted. Remember, these coaches have a lot of things on their plate, so to think that they are putting their top priority in you is a little naive to think. So you've got to make sure that you are consistently following up, being persistent. We talked about those 4 top P's of the recruiting process. Persistency is the key thing. And then turning interest into visits. We can go back to that timeline that we talked about earlier. Don't just email. We got to email, get on the phone, get a visit, and then visits will eventually lead to offers. And that is how we get this recruiting process started. So you might be thinking to yourself, man, that's a lot to be doing. We do have a great solution, affordable solution that starts out with a free 30-day trial if you do wish to. Go to www.myrecruiterapp.net. This is a great resource for streamlining the recruiting process. 3 key areas. 1, make a profile. 2, upload as many videos as you want. And number 3, send that profile and video to any college coach in the nation with the database of college coaches right there on the app. Hope you enjoy that. And again, subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/realrecruitsgj. If you want to continue to learn about this recruiting process, this is the best resource for you. It's free, it's open to the public, and you can learn about any specific topic that you'd like to. I hope that you found this video very informative in helping you to get a college scholarship. Best of luck. And at any time, reach out to us at www.realrecruits.com. We'd be happy to help.